Tonight I wanted to do a video about all the video or pictures I could get off of the Seestar that were fairly decent, but I didn't want to just go to the obvious ones like Orion or Andromeda. I wanted to do a few obscure ones and see what we could get in one night. All of the images you will see in this video are just taken off of the Seestar. I'll try and notate how many exposures so you'll know how long I spent on them. But some of them may be cropped just to fit in the screen or brightened so that they're more visible, but there's no post-processing like in Photoshop or anything. This is just how they come off the Seestar. This is a new one to me. It's the Wizard Nebula. It's NGC 7380, and this one has 47 minutes on the exposure time. This is an image of Jupiter. I realize that the Seestar isn't set up for planetary imaging, but I thought this one was pretty because it showed 3 of the moons of Jupiter. The coloring is off. You can't see the lines on Jupiter or anything, but I thought it was a pretty picture anyway. This is another image of the Wizard Nebula. I wanted to rotate it a little bit and see if I could figure out why it was named that. Supposedly it looks like some kind of wizard or sorcerer or something, but I'm not really sure where the picture rotation should be, so that's what this is, the rotation of that first image. This one is the Tadpole Nebula, IC 410. I did brighten it a little bit to see if I could see a reason why it was called the Tadpole Nebula, other than it just looks busy and like it could be a little sea of tadpoles. I'm not really sure, but this is the Tadpole Nebula, IC 410. This is the Trifid of the North. It's NGC 1579. It was relatively small, so I did have to enlarge it so that it would fit on the screen and be a little bit more visible. But other than that, this came right off the Seestar without any post-processing. This is the Maya Nebula, NGC 1432. I think that's how you say it. M-A-I-A is how it's spelled. Well, this image doesn't have any post-processing other than I rotated it to fit on the screen. It would be one that would probably be a good one for post-processing to bring out the blue nebula areas around those stars, and probably needs a little bit more exposure time to really emphasize those as well, but this one would be a really pretty one to do. This is M74. It's stretched out to fit the screen so that it's visible, a little brightening to see it, but it only has 33 minutes of exposure, so you can still see the arms of the galaxy in this one with just a really short amount of exposure time. I'm guessing everybody can already guess what this one is. It's, of course, our moon. I think it's one day away from being a full moon, but this is our closest planetary object, our moon. This is M81. It only has 7 minutes of exposure time on it. It's Bode's galaxy. This one is visible pretty early on and only becomes clearer and clearer with more exposure time. This one was just enlarged to fit the screen, but no post-processing at all other than enlarging it. This is the Silver Sliver Galaxy, NGC 891. I only have 7 minutes on this one, and I ended up stopping it because I realized it was going to take a long time to make it look like the silver sliver galaxy was supposed to look. It's an unbarred spiral galaxy in the Andromeda constellation, but it would be a nice one, but it would take some time to make it more visible. This is another barred lenticular galaxy. It's NGC 2787, and I didn't put very much time on this one because it would take too long when I was just gathering some for the evening. You can always tell in the app if they're going to take a long time when that little circle identifier is really tiny on the screen and there's barely a pinprick of light in there, but it's supposed to be this big galaxy. You know that one's going to take you some time to gather enough exposures to make it worthwhile to do in post-processing. So these other images are just duplicates or different times of the previous photos that you've seen. We just wanted to show what we could do in one night. Of course, that's not always ideal, especially with the Seestar S50. The objective is to get more exposures so that the objects are more clear and defined. But this is what we did in one evening, and you could do it as well. We spent about 5 hours total gathering these images. And there were quite a few images that we went to that either we couldn't locate them because of our light situation. We're kind of down in a little bit of a ravine, so if it's not high enough in the sky, we hit the neighbors' lights or mountains or whatever. But we spent about 5 hours. There were probably half we got good images on and probably half that we couldn't find and didn't get images of. But that's kind of what you can do in one evening with the Seestar. It looks like we got 8 images that we captured photos of. Of course, like I said before, there were some that we didn't photograph because they just weren't visible or were going to take too long. But some of the images, like the galaxies, we spent almost an hour on or a half hour on. So in that 5 hours, we got quite a few images that were worth looking at and maybe doing some post-processing on.